Thank you all for coming, for braving this winter weather. I praise God that it cleaned up the way it did. You don't want to wake up in the morning on the day of your event and see that. But I thank all of you for coming out for a taste of the peak. I'm Chaim Goldman. I go by the Watchman. I think we should all be watchmen. Because what the mandate of the Watchman is to keep his or her eyes on the horizon, and if we see trouble coming, that we blow the shofar and we let the people know. And at that point, it's not your responsibility anymore. It's a very strange thing. Everybody thinks if I bring it up, if I mention it, if I talk about it, then I'm responsible to follow it through. Not according to God you are. You need to warn the people. And if you're here in this room tonight, which you obviously are, you're probably someone who years ago woke up that things just weren't right with the world. And you're still wondering how all these years later, 5 years since the whole COVID thing, that most people haven't woken up. But that's okay. Because it's always a remnant. It's always a remnant. But the question is the remnant going to do anything? Going to stand up and do anything? And people said to me, why are you throwing a party? I said, because I want to get our town together. We need to have fun. We need to come together. We have to get out of our bubbles. We have to talk with each other. And also, we have issues, in our towns that we need to solve, and we need to do it together. So I want to ask of different rounds, and you might raise your hand multiple times for this, for the different sectors that you're in. If you're like me, I'm like quad vocational or something like that. But how many people in here are in some way elected official, government, in that realm? Raise your hand if you are. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. How many people are businessmen? Women, business. What about education? Arts and entertainment in that area? Okay, what about media? I have my media friends in here. Excellent. Excellent. I'm sure if I missed anything else. But what I wanted to try, and faith. Well, we all, and specifically sort of professionally, vocationally faith-oriented. Pastoring, ministry, things like that. So people raise their hand multiple times. And that's good. And so here we are tonight, representing our whole city in every sector of our whole region. I think with that we can really solve some issues. We can talk about some things. We can be creative. But very specifically, because my sphere, my mountain is media, as well as business and ministry and education and everything else, but it's primarily media, is I say we need to take the media back. If we're going to take our country back, if we're going to take government back, we have to take media back, because here's the thing. The media is supposed to be the truth tellers in society, right? That and from the pulpit. That's supposed to be the truth tellers, but fact is we've lost trust in our media, and it really doesn't matter what side of the you are, what political party or what predisposition, doesn't matter. We've all lost trust in the media. And it's not like we can just go, oh well, we'll just go along not trusting the media. I mean, transferring information to each other is crucial to every function. I mean, people sitting around campfires for thousands of years sharing information. If we can't share information in a trustworthy way, we certainly can't be free and we can't be successful. So I want to set a vision tonight for changing, not the world, we can get to the world, but changing this region, for shifting the Pikes Peak region. Colorado Springs, El Paso County, the Pikes Peak region, the area that the radio show that I'm honored to do, different radio shows, but specifically the Peak News on Salem, that I get to do. It goes out in an area where 2 million people can hear that signal. That's a large area. I don't claim to have that many listeners. That would be great. Maybe you can help me get there with that. But we need to reestablish trust in every institution. And what we need to remember is it's not them, it's us. It's we the people. We're everything. We're the government. We're also the media. We're education. We're faith. We're everything. Let's not be victims of any of this. But let's just take control of it because we have authority over it if we take it. And so tonight, as I thank you for coming together for the Peak News Educational Foundation, and we'll be talking more about that. And this is a fundraiser for that. We'll tell you what we're planning to do with the money, and we ask you to please, whether it's through paying ridiculous amounts for the silent auction items or the live auction items, we can move the night along really easy when we're doing the live auctions later. Just bid like $10,000, and we'll very quickly end that one, and we'll move to the next one. And I'm good. I'm good to go home. I haven't had much sleep getting ready for this. But we launched the Peak News about a year ago, January 15th. How many people here had heard about the Peak News before this event? Did you know about it? Okay, good. And how many found out about it through the event? And how many still have no idea what it is? I got to up my game. Well, that's what we're doing this. But we 3 to 4 p.m. on AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer. We do a live news show, and I call it hyper-local. Because I rarely leave the county. Like, I don't feel any authority outside the county. This is my ground. And this is where I know I can have an impact. Look, I get 200 plus people in a room to try to say things. That's a good thing, right? That's good. Thank you for all coming. And for most of you, I got $20. How about that? That's pretty good too. That's a success. But really what we need to do is come together and shift the region. Stop complaining about things. Stop accusing each other of things. And just solve the problems. And I feel that everything good has to come out of Colorado Springs. It has to start here first. There's something about this town. And we owe it to the rest of the country to do it. So over the course of the evening, we have some great speakers tonight. And I've asked each one of them to speak on a vision for something. And all of these things are wound into what we're doing with the Peak. Because the Peak is citizen journalism. Because, how do you run a newsroom these days? Wouldn't it be good if all of you had a platform? And if you're passionate about something, there was a platform for you to get on. And then, of course, internships, because we need to raise up our youth to not be activists, but to be real journalists. We've forgotten what journalism is. We don't even really know anymore, but we're trying to establish that. We're going to talk about journalism and community and education. And a lot of things that all tie into this project. And I would ask you to give tonight, because we're developing a curriculum that's going to go into the school systems in our region. We're teaching journalistic ethics and media vocational training and tying it into internships. But also, not just money, but your time to get involved with this. Because, well, we just need to. If we want to have a vision for reestablishing trust in our society, and what are we going to do if we don't trust each other? We can't trust the information we get. What are we going to do? We have to. There's so many who made this evening possible. Thank you. I can't name everybody, but thank you to Salem Media, first of all, and Chris Gould, who about 2 years ago took me in and gave me a microphone. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been very challenging, but it's been a lot of fun. So thank you, Chris, and thank you for sponsoring this, and thank you for helping to promote it and filling the room. This is great. The situation that I think we all realized about the media during the elections, I mean, that was really the final fall, the death spiral of the media, all the things they were claiming during the presidential elections. I don't think anyone came out of that on any side of the divide thinking that the media wasn't lying to them. But we've been warned about this for a really, really long time. And if you don't think that's the case, I want to solidify that by playing a movie clip from a movie called Network that came out about 50 years ago. And I want you to watch that because we need to realize how far down the road we actually are.
Starring the mad prophet of the airways, Howard Beale.
Edward George Ruddy died today. Edward George Ruddy was the chairman of the board of the Union Broadcasting Systems, and he died at 11 o'clock this morning of a heart condition, and woe is us. We're in a lot of trouble. So, a rich little man with white hair died. What has that got to do with the price of rice, right? And why is that woe to us? Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now. Because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel. The ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome God force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. Because this company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what will be peddled for truth on this network? So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourselves, because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
"50 years ago, this was a major motion picture, and we did nothing to change it. But here we are, 2025. Let's change it. Let's do something about it. Let's demand better. To not be lied to anymore. To demand better. The biggest news in town isn't when the newest In-N-Out Burger opened, but that's on the front page, like all the time. And we're not getting any other stories, but here's the deal. In media today, there's media deserts. There's not much budget. Things are drying up. It's hard to do this. And so there's a new model of journalism that's coming out of the ashes. And it's some combination of what we're trying to do. People are trying. Some kind of quasi-professional plus plus volunteers, plus, business supported, sponsor supported, plus grants from other places, paywalls, user paid content. Because with all that's out there right now, there aren't the budgets for supporting the giant networks that were there. And you know what? Good. Because what happened is they got bought and paid for by corporations. And there's an amazing, Ned Beatty in this movie has an amazing monologue scene all about that, about the corporate takeover and how you better not mess with it. So the whole country is under this, but I figure let's start here. Let's start here in our hometown. Radio is a great medium. I grew up, with doing video. I have a degree in broadcasting and film, and I always did video. But when Chris Gould let me have a mic a couple years ago, I really started appreciating how powerful, how immediate radio is, how quickly you can get something to air, and how interesting it is to just talk with people and bring it to you. And so thank you for those of you who've been listening to the program. Especially thanks to those who have started working with us, like Jordan Baldwin, who's in the room, who's our investigative journalist. And thank you, Jordan, for that. And I'll just say the one story that we're doing, and then we're going to go to an auction. And then when we come back, I'm going to ask Heidi Ganal to come up and speak about a vision for journalism, is back on November 21st, the Daily Wire made an egregious accusation against our mayor. And the media acted like it didn't exist, like it didn't happen. And that, to me, is the bigger story than whatever our mayor may or may not have said, is that the media has tried to ignore this. We haven't, because I believe that the media should be there to clear a person's name or to hold them accountable or whatever. We're supposed to be bringing the truth to you, not to tell you what to think, but to bring you information. And if you look at how the media has covered this in this town, it's sort of scary. It's a little creepy. I don't know how they can ignore such a story. Because as Jordan's been digging into it, he's been finding a lot of stuff that is much bigger. And we're trying to tell it, but we need the resources to tell it. So if there's anyone in the room that wants to help support, not an end result, I need to let you know, there's no paid end result. We're going to report what we find. But if there's stories in this town bigger than the In-N-Out burger that just opened, like maybe gangs or drugs or sex trafficking or political corruption or any of that, we should be looking for those stories, telling those stories. And so if you'd like to help support that, that's on the Peak side. We'd love to talk to you about doing that. But more than anything else, we'd love you to get involved. We'd love you, if you're passionate about something, to come and be a citizen journalist and help us do this. Because think if we had hundreds covering this region, we'd have the biggest newsroom that there is. And there'd be transparency over everything, because we need transparency and accountability, and the media needs to provide it. And if it doesn't, woe to us. So we're here tonight to support all of that, to plug in where you see it. And now we want to raise some money and have some fun through this auction. So Mary Louise, come on up. Mary Louise Fiddler. And I want to give great thanks to the Fiddler family. Rick is running security tonight. James was our first intern, and 6 months in, got a job at Salem Media at the age of 20, which is how internships are supposed to work, because when you get in the door and show you can hustle, that's how you get hired. In media more than anything else, getting in the door is tough. And there is a QR code in there inside the envelope if you'd prefer to give digitally. So, well, that's it for the evening, other than to say this. We're going to be starting a citizen journalist class, 4 weeks, couple hours once a week. Not anywhere like what we're going to do in the 2 semesters in the school system, but something enough to run you through it and certify you to be one of our citizen journalists. So, because you registered for tonight, I have your contact info. We're going to get an email out to you, and if you'd like to do that, or at least see it, And please join with us and become a citizen journalist and help us tell the so many stories that need to be told in this town. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for honoring us with that. Please keep listening to The Peak, Monday through Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. And also our website, thepeak.news. We have like 180 podcasts on there from the past year to check out. Thank you so much. Drive carefully and shalom. For such a time as this.